In this video, we're fixing the Alfa. Again. Hello you lot, Miller Corner here, welcome back once again to the Alfa GTV, and after weeks and weeks and weeks of work on this car, finally, fingers crossed, we're starting to get to the end of the project. Just a quick note, this is going to be filmed over several days, I can already tell you, because I'm still waiting on parts, so my outfit is going to change between scenes, but think nothing of it. We're going to start with one of the very little things that you don't think about until it's an issue, which is the boot. Which, if you've seen Wednesday's video, you'll already know about. You'll know about the struggle to remove the old struts and the fact that I was sent a pair of bonnet struts by the eBay seller. Thankfully, armed with a full refund, I ordered some actual boot struts from another seller. A few days later, after clipping them onto the ball-headed bolts that the struts mount to, I thread myself into the boot to screw them back on, and after repeating the process on the other side and refitting the boot carpet, it's time to test. Flip that badge down, stick the key in the keyhole, pop the boot, lift it up, and bask in the luxury of a boot that holds itself open without the requirement for a racing boot prop. Magnificent. I'm so chuffed with that. Again, 15-16 quid for a pair of new struts, and it just transforms how usable the car is. If we shut the boot, the next thing to fix is going to be this, the boot badge, which, if you couldn't tell, it's past its best. All the colour has come off and you can just see the shiny gold underneath. It looks crap. I've bought a replacement that is pretty much mint condition, but first things first, we've got to get this one off. Doing so starts by undoing what feels like about 400 stubborn plastic clips that hold the boot lid carpet on, using audio companions, screwdrivers and fingernails to pull them all out. Then, once you've got the boot carpet unclipped, you need to reach round here. You'll see this bit here that I've got my finger on. You'll be able to feel it quite easily because of the shape of it. It's got a kind of ridged edge on it. Move it anti-clockwise, like so, and then it'll pop off. And the bracket you unclipped can then be removed from the dowels, and the whole lock and badge assembly simply lifts off. So here is our absolutely knackered old boot badge and our absolutely beautiful replacement one. And first things first, we've got to get this off of this whole assembly. And to do that, you probably see this little tiny metal clip there. Now what you want to do is do this in quite an open space, because these clips have a tendency to ping off and destroy everything in the nearby vicinity. And what you want to do is just get something under it, like a flat-bladed screwdriver, prise it out like that. And then when your clip comes off like that, do not lose it, by the way. Pull on this plastic washer and pull this spring out as well. Again, do not lose. Then this just lifts out. And there you have it, one utterly knackered boot badge. That's going in a bin. This is going into here. Fitting the little spring both into place on the backing plate and into the slot on the back of the badge under tension is quite a colossal faff. I haven't got any specific tips for this, just fiddle with it for as long as it takes and try to press the badge down onto the spring quickly enough to prevent it from pinging back out again. After roughly 3 weeks of fiddling, the new badge is successfully fitted, and with the spring, plastic cap and metal clip back in place, it's time to refit. Doing so is similarly fiddly, as getting the lock assembly through the boot lid, into the frame and locking it into place around the boot lock mechanism, all in a space that's about an inch wide, proves to be about as stressful as you'd expect. After completely skinning my knuckles and swearing too many times to censor, the frame eventually clicks into place and we can admire the difference. We've gone from this to this. After that major improvement, the next day, the fixes continue. You may remember the custom wire mesh grille that I made for the bits of the front bumper where I couldn't get new replacements for that broken plastic one. And a lot of you didn't like it, because the truth of the matter is, I bought wire mesh online, and as is often the case when you buy online, it was not as described. In fact, the holes in the mesh are a hell of a lot bigger than it said on the online advert, and as a result, it doesn't look so much like aggressive wire mesh as it does chicken wire. If we're honest, it just looks a bit crap. And whilst it does look better than having nothing there, I don't fancy the front of my lovely classy Alfa Romeo looking like a rabbit hutch. So instead we're going to pull all this off, and I've got a much better replacement in mind. Once all the screws and clips are removed, the old mesh can be pulled off. Rather than immediately binning it though, it's kept to use as a template for its replacement. Now, those of you that are into your performance Audis will probably already know what this is. This is what's known as honeycomb grille, and it's used in a lot of the front grills for stuff like RS3s, RS5s, that kind of stuff. It looks really, really mean. It's got that proper cool, aggressive look to it. But crucially, it's plastic, and that means it won't rust, you don't have to paint it, and it's a bit tougher than metal can be if you've just got thin wire mesh, which is sort of meant for a rabbit hutch. The good news is you don't have to buy an Audi grille. You can get a whole sheet of this stuff, which is 1.2 metres by, I believe, 45 centimetres for about 13 quid, and that is less than what I paid for the roll of wire mesh that I made those original grills with. The old wire mesh grills are laid over the honeycomb sheet as a template. I mark their width and height with masking tape before starting the cutting with a hacksaw. Cuts made, I then use a full-size saw and cut along the sheeting using our patio as a guide. Incidentally, I'm a trained professional idiot. Do not attempt stuff like this unless you're okay with losing the odd finger or limb. With one grill cut to size, I repeat the process on the other one and then insert both grills into the bumper and cut them more neatly to shape around the various fittings. Using the same screws and clips as well as a generous helping of cable ties, the honeycomb grills are fitted, and the improvement over the old wire mesh is incredible. For how cheap and effective this is, I can't see why you'd bother trying to find OEM replacements. In equally exciting news, the new bumper bolt is here, so at last, let's go fit this bumper. The bumper slots into place and the two large bolts hold it on. We replaced the missing screws and add some speed nuts to keep them in check. After some adjusting to make it fit correctly, we are done. You might remember in the wheel refurb video that I said how this centre cap was broken. Well, I've bought a replacement and it looks gorgeous, so let's just get that on there. Perfect. Now if you see down here is my other problem with this wheel, because that there is a locking wheel bolt, and in fact this car has got one on all four wheels, and I hate locking wheel bolts or nuts because you have to carry around a stupid key with you all the time, and if you lose it you can't get these off, you can't get your wheels off. They are pointless, particularly in an age where people don't really steal wheels anymore, least of all a set of stock Alfa Romeo wheels that aren't even for the car they're on. These are actually 156 wheels. So to rectify the frankly irritating and not in any way useful locking wheel bolts, I've bought 4 standard ones. So without any further ado, let's get these off and get them gone. Perfect. And as the sun comes out to celebrate finally getting rid of these bloody locking bolts. By the way, if you do fancy a set of locking wheel bolts complete with a key for an Alfa GTV, get in touch, they are genuinely for sale. We've got one elephant in the room to get rid of. In the wheel refurb video, some of you pointed out quite how ugly these rusty bolt heads look over the freshly painted, freshly refurbished wheels. You suggested painting them, some of you, but there are 2 problems with that. Problem 1, I don't really have enough of that Rover charcoal grey left to paint all of the bolt heads for all 4 wheels, and number 2, it's not uncommon for painted bolt heads to get scratched over time as they get taken in and out of the car multiple times as the wheels get taken off, stuff like that. It happens. So a much neater and more practical solution are these. Now these, if I get one out for you, are plastic bolt head covers, and they simply slot over there and they give you a much neater finish than just having ugly rusty bolt heads on display. I could show you putting them on, or I could just use the power of the YouTuber Snap. How much better do those look than having rusty, ugly bolt heads? They're now nice, neat, and a lot slicker than how they used to look. And for those of you wondering, they do also come with these lovely plastic tweezers for pulling the covers off. But those look awesome. Love them. Fixing the Alfa has been a long, difficult journey and more work than I ever imagined, but I can safely say that it's all been worth it. There's no time to celebrate though. The GTV has something big in store for it, which you'll hear about very soon.